Well, hello everyone. It is St. Patty's Day, and today I'm going to go over the Avro Lancaster V3. This is the first time I've ever had an airplane like this, so let's get into it. Okay guys, so we're going to go over the Lancaster V3 here. It is a non-sponsored video. I bought this with my own money. I just wanted to mention that most of the reviews I've seen out there have been all sponsored reviews. I don't think I've seen any really just straight out people buying this and reviewing it. So this is just my initial impressions, and my opinions might change as I fly it and whatnot, but my overall impressions right now, just as a spoiler, is it looks good. So. Just a quick note here, this is just immaterial, but it's really funny, but this is probably one of the very first times I've ever set up an airplane and all my control surfaces were actually operating in the correct direction. Elevator was correct, didn't have to reverse anything. Ailerons were correct. I also set up the differential thrust, which is the very first time I've ever done that. Arctic RC has a really great video on how to do this with Spectrum radios. I can link his video down in the description below, but here we have right and left rudder. Right stick on the rudder gives you left motor. Really cool. I can't wait to try it out since this airplane has no rudders. Okay, so to start off with, guys, the scale detail is really nice. The paint seems fine. I may coat it with Minwax like I normally do with painted airplanes, but it'll give it that shiny sheen which really World War II airplanes didn't have, but I think I'm going to do it because I want to protect the paint. Has great scale details, all the little guns that are sticking out here. They don't rotate or anything like that, but you could always mod that yourself. Most of us are kind of modders here. One thing that's not mentioned very much is that you have to put some tape around this very center of the spar, otherwise the spar can migrate into one wing or the other, because the spar tubes, the holes that they go into are actually longer than the actual spar. So, like I said, the spar could actually migrate to one wing or the other. So you just put a little piece of tape around the center of it, and it prevents it from traveling too far. One thing I do notice, though, there's a lot of flex in the wings. I can actually move them side to side here a little bit. So I think I'm actually going to glue the wings in eventually. So that is one thing to note. The airplane is fairly bizarre in the fact that you have to load everything from the bottom of the airplane. They call them bomb bay doors, but it's interesting that you're going to be landing on these bomb bay doors. I would consider this kind of like a weak point in the airplane, because you're going to be landing kind of on these three portions here, the two nacelles for the inner nacelles here and the center. But I would be worried about the bomb bay doors getting ripped off. I might be wrong about that, but I could also throw some skids down here on this bomb bay door as well. But you load everything from the bottom. Typically we were loading everything from the top, like a little magnetic hatch or whatever, but they kept it like this, and we'll see if it works. When you get this, there's no servo for the tail wheel, so if you want to add that servo in, you can. And they also leave the hardware here in place, and you could always remove this to lessen the weight of the airplane as well. The basics are, and I don't have all my wiring cleared up yet, but you have your battery in the nose, receiver can pack somewhere down in here or here. And you can tuck these wires down underneath. There's a tunnel right here. You can move these wires to underneath. Like I said, I just haven't cleared everything up yet. So that is that, and this is a magnetic hatch, so that does stay closed. I don't think that it would ever pop open during flight, because it does take quite a bit of force to get this to open. So you can use between like a 1300 3S up to about a 2200 just by moving the battery back and forth. But this is an 1800 here, and it's pretty thin. But this battery strap is way too long to get anything secure in there. So if you're going to use a battery strap, make sure you use a shorter battery strap. One of the craziest bizarre things about this airplane is that there's no spar going through the tail section here. These tail pieces are just glued onto the side, and they ended up being kind of flimsy. So you might be able to see here that I actually embedded a carbon fiber spar from here to here. I just took a wire and poked it through. It's just right behind where the tail wheel is here, and then I dug out the foam until I was able to stick a fairly large spar through here and glued it into place. I just felt like the tail if it ever caught on anything, it would just rip off. And especially, you know, your tail is controlling your horizontal stabilizer. If there's any flex in that, you're not going to get a very accurate flight. These verticals here are also just glued in place. I may stick some sewing pins through there and just hide the openings just to give it a little extra stability, but those, you know, if those come off, it's not a huge deal. Just a quick note also, I did remove the lead weight that they had in the nose. They recommend if you're not going to run the stock landing gear that you can just take that weight out of the nose, and it does balance fairly nicely right at about 50 millimeters right here with the 1800 milliamp battery packet that I have in the nose there. So my understanding of this airplane is that it flies very scale, and the fact that you shouldn't angle the wings over too much, otherwise it can tip stall. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to throw in the differential thrust on the motors to act as rudders, so you can actually flat turn this airplane with a little opposite aileron as well. So anyway, guys, this is my first impression of the airplane. My first impressions are good with a little modification to the tail. I think I will coat this and maybe put a skid on the bottom of the fuselage there just so I don't grind up the bottom foam there. But other than that, I'm a little worried about chipping props or breaking props. But also I thought if I ever do break a prop, I might just go to two-bladed props and not really care about the scale appearance of this airplane. However, I do have a lot of multi-rotor props that I could probably use for this airplane. You know, bright pink, something like that might work well. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining me, and look forward to my maiden flight coming up pretty soon. If you want to follow me on Facebook, I have a Facebook group called 7 Demo 7 Forum Group, and we'd be happy to have you guys in there, contribute, and post any videos that you guys would like. Anyway, I will talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.